Okay, what we're going to do here is we are going to break down lesson 5, talking about the domain and range of continuous graphs. We are in our functions topic of Algebra 1. So first and foremost, when we are stating the domain and range of any continuous function or graph, it's important to know that domain is how we read a book from left to right. Okay, I'll jot that down. And I like to say range is how we grow from bottom to top, okay? What's also important is if you see an arrow that typically is telling you it goes to infinity, anything with an infinity, whether it's positive or negative, will have parentheses. And then remember, closed circles indicate brackets because it's saying that that value is included in the graph. And if it's plotted with an open circle, that tells us parentheses. Okay, so looking at number 1, I'm going to try to color code this. Domain is left to right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And so I'm going to mark on my x-axis how far left and mark how far right. So I see the farthest value left is -5, and that's a closed circle, so I'm going to put a bracket. And then the farthest value to the right is +6, and that is an open circle, so I'm going to put a parenthesis. Now, if you're in the mindset of left to right, left to right, left to right, go ahead and do all of them, all of the domains left to right, and then come back and rewire your brain to now look bottom to top, right? So I'm going to look now on the y-axis, and I'm going to say, okay, this is the lowest my graph goes, and I'm going to boogie over to the y-axis. And then I'm going to look, okay, this is the highest my graph goes. Let me boogie over to the y-axis. So I see the lowest value is -1, and it's going to have a parenthesis because it's an open circle at that lowest value. And I see the highest value is 4, and that highest value has a closed circle, so I'm going to put a bracket. Okay? Number 2, the value farthest on the left is -5, and the value farthest on the right is +5. Both of them have an open circle, so they're both going to have parentheses. Okay? Now, looking at the range, the lowest value is not necessarily where those points are. I'm talking the lowest curve even. So we see that there at -6. It's a solid line, so it's going to have a bracket. And the highest value is 4. Okay? And that's going to have a bracket as well. Moving right along to number 3, we're going to look farthest to the left domain, farthest to the right, okay? So the farthest to the left is -6, and the farthest to the right is +2, and they're both going to have brackets because it's a solid line. And for our range, we're going to talk the lowest, the y value is -1 to +4. And they're both going to have a line, okay? And sorry, they're both going to have a bracket because of the solid line. Last but not least, I am seeing arrows here. So those arrows are telling me it's going up and it's going to the right, and it's going down and it's going to the right. So for the domain, the farthest to the left is -3. Solid line, so a bracket. And then we see the arrows pointing to the right, which tells us our graph goes to the right forever and ever. So that's going to be infinity, and all infinities will have a parenthesis. And then the lowest value, the range, that arrow at the bottom is pointing down, telling us it goes down forever and ever. So that's going to be negative infinity, wow. And then the arrow at the top is telling us it's pushing up forever and ever. So it's going to go to positive infinity. And so remember, infinities always have parentheses. You might see someone write this with that fancy R saying it's the set of all real numbers, okay? So domain is our left to right, and range is our bottom to top. And I find it really helpful when you can take your pencil and just go farthest to the left and then draw a line down or up to the x-axis, farthest to the right, line down or up to the x-axis. And same goes for range. Go the lowest and then draw a line over to the y-axis, and same goes for the highest. If there's arrows involved in any problem, that's an indication that you're probably going to have an infinity symbol somewhere in your domain or range, or potentially both. Okay? Keep up the great work. We're moving right along in our functions topic. Keep it up.